At 10, she was married. At 16, she was pregnant. At 24, she was thrown out all because she gave birth to girls. But God wasn't sleeping. Because the girls they rejected are now the women the world celebrates. This is the story of Ngozi, a young girl whose childhood was stolen, but who became the mother of legends. It was one fateful Tuesday. The sun had not even reached the middle of the sky when it happened. She was just 9 years old, a small girl. Skinny legs with a bright future. Her hair was cut low and full of dust from sweeping the family compound. She had just returned from fetching water when she overheard the sound of men laughing in the parlor. They were drinking palm wine, that deep, brown one that leaves the lips white. Her father, a well-known hunter in the village, was sitting with his friend. "She has grown now," the man said, slapping her father's back. Her father smiled proudly and called her. "Hey, Ngozi, come here, my child." She wiped her face with the edge of her wrapper and ran to them, barefoot, innocent. The man looked at her from head to toe, a look that made her uncomfortable. She hid behind her father's chair. "I will marry your daughter for my son one day, mark my words. No other girl. I'll even start paying now. Just hold her for me. Small, small." Everyone laughed. She didn't understand. She thought they were joking, like how adults sometimes tease you about being a big woman. But it wasn't a joke. Because 3 months later, they brought cola nut, then palm wine, then wrappers, then 10 shillings, and in the middle of it all they called her name. She didn't even know what to say. She just stood there, holding her mother's wrapper, confused. Why are they tying wrapper on me? Why is everybody smiling at me like I'm not just a child? Her father sat in the middle, grinning like a king. "Come here. Kneel down. Greet your in-laws. She's small now, but she'll grow. My son is waiting." She looked at her mother, eyes lowered, silent, powerless. And just like that, her name was signed away. They called it marriage, but what they did to her was robbery. They stole her childhood. They stole her playtime. They stole her sleep. She was given to a man she barely knew just because her father wanted to please an old friend. By the time she turned 16, she had already stopped dreaming. She had learned how to bleed quietly during her periods because her husband didn't want to hear about women's wahala. She had also learned to count the weeks between her beatings, because each time she cooked and he didn't like it, he would slap her. Each time she greeted him and he didn't feel respected enough, he would throw his shoe at her. Sometimes, it was for nothing. She would just be sitting under the tree, tying firewood, and he would walk in and accuse her of being lazy. Her eyes were always swollen. She stopped talking to people, because what was there to say? Who would believe her? At 16, she got pregnant for her first child. She didn't even know how it happened. All she knew was that her belly was growing, and she was vomiting in the mornings. But still, she was expected to sweep, cook, farm, and still open her legs at night. By the time she gave birth, screaming through the pain, no painkillers, no mother to hold her hand, all they wanted to know was, boy or girl? "Congratulations, sir. Your wife has given birth to a baby girl." The room went silent. "A girl?" he asked again. He left without even asking if she was okay. She smiled anyway, because she loved the baby. She didn't know that this little girl would be the first reason she was hated. By 18, she had her second, another girl. This time, the man didn't even go to the hospital with her. He only sent his mother to go confirm what she had given birth to. Another girl. Her suffering became worse. No matter what she did, it was never enough. "Useless womb! What kind of woman gives birth to girls and no son?" he would shout. She would cry and clean the blood off her wrapper before the children woke up. At 19, she had another girl. Then again at 20, then 22, then 24. 5 girls. And with each birth, the beatings got worse. The hatred got deeper. The rejection became louder. They started locking her out at night with her children. No food, sometimes under the rain. The man stopped taking care of her and the children. She would kneel to beg him for money so the children could go to school. But he would slap her and say, "School? Which school? You want me to train those useless girls you call children? Never! I can't waste my money on them. Girls will always end up bringing shame. Education of a woman ends in the kitchen, he would say. And just like that, he never paid a single kobo. She was still breastfeeding the last child when it happened. Rain again. She was peeling yam at the back of the house when the voice came cold, final. Ngozi? Pack your things. You're going. You're going back to your father's house. What? What did I do? No answer. You want to kill me with only daughters? Don't you have shame? He didn't even look at her. Her mother-in-law came out, tied her bag with rope, and dumped it outside. Even animals give birth to male children. Leave. Useless, shameful woman. You want to destroy my son's life with your miserable womb. Soaked in rain. Baby crying on her back. 4 daughters clinging to her skirt. That was the moment she became homeless. But where would she go? Her father had died. Her mother was old and sick. And even if she went back, what would she go back to? She begged. She cried. She even knelt down on her raw knees and said, "Please, I will work. I will cook. I will try again. Don't throw me out. I have nowhere else to go." But they didn't care. And that's how a woman with 5 daughters was left in the street, with nowhere to go, no husband, no money, no support, just pain, tears, and 5 little girls looking up at her. "Mama, where are we going?" "To somewhere that won't beat us." That night, the rain fell like the sky was angry. She had nowhere to go. She stood in the dark, her wrapper soaked through, her newborn daughter pressed to her chest, crying weakly. The other 4 girls sat under a mango tree, trembling from cold, too young to understand what just happened, but old enough to know they had been thrown away. She wiped her eyes with her bare hand, even though the tears mixed with the rain and didn't stop anyway. She looked down at her daughters and whispered, "I will not let you suffer. I don't know how, but I will find a way, even if I have to carry stone on my head to feed you." She managed to find a place that night, a wooden bench. 3 girls on the bench, 2 on the floor. She stayed awake, holding her baby, listening to the thunder, begging God, "Please don't let my children die of cold tonight." Morning came like punishment. She walked to her mother's cousin's house in the next village. The woman opened the door, saw her face, and shook her head. "You? What happened again?" She knelt immediately. "Auntie, please. I don't have anywhere else to go. They chased me away. I just gave birth. Please help me. Just 1 week." Just 1 week for the baby to get strong. The woman scratched her head and sighed. "Stay. But don't stay long. My husband won't like this." She smiled weakly. "Thank you. God bless you." But what she didn't know was that every grain of rice she cooked in that house would be counted, that her children would be insulted like beggars, that she would hear things like, "So this is what you brought from marriage? 5 burdens?" She swept. She fetched water. She washed all the toilets in the compound. Still, they grumbled. At night, they would say, "Close the door. We don't want the children's cough to give us sickness." She cried silently. And by the 6th night, they told her to go. "Our house is not a charity home. You're not the only woman suffering." So she left. Again. She entered a church, one of those small white garment ones. She explained everything and begged the prophetess to stay a while. The prophetess looked at her with pity. "Madame, stay here as long as you want." The church gave her a room behind the building. It wasn't really a room, just a small space with no door, no ceiling, and rats everywhere. But she thanked them. She used wrappers to cover the sides. That was now her home. She started working, washing clothes for people, fetching water, picking firewood, frying gari in people's farms for 300 a day. Some days she didn't eat. She would pretend to her daughters that she had already eaten. "I ate in Auntie Rose's place," she would say. Lying, because she didn't want them to worry. She became both mother and father. She walked barefoot to the market every Saturday to sell ogiri. The heat from the road burned her soles. But she kept going. She begged no one. She took no shortcuts. She just worked and worked and worked. One day, her 3rd daughter asked her, "Mama, are we poor?" She smiled and said, "No, we're just in a small room now. But one day, we will live in a house with flowers." The girls laughed. They believed her. They had no reason not to, because to them, she was the strongest woman in the world. Then came the sickness. She collapsed one evening while frying Gary. The heat was too much. She hadn't eaten. Her blood pressure dropped. They rushed her to a chemist. The girls stood there, crying. Their mother, the only one they had, was lying motionless. The chemist said, "She's weak. She needs rest. She needs food. She needs help." But there was no rest, no food, no help. So she got up. Again. With her wrapper barely tied, she went back to work the next day. Because she had 5 mouths to feed, and the world didn't care if she was tired. One day, someone told her, "You need to send these girls to the village. Let them go and stay with your relatives. You can't train them all. They are my own. I carried them in my stomach. I will carry them in my life too. I will not scatter them. I will not give them out." They laughed at her. "You will see, they will grow up and leave you, ungrateful girls." She said, "Let them grow first. Let me feed them first. Even if they leave, they will know their mother tried." And she did. She tried. She suffered. She survived. And her daughters? They watched it all. They saw her fall and rise. Fall again and rise again. They never forgot. Time passed. Seasons changed. Rains came and went. Dry Harmattan wind cracked the children's lips, but she still rubbed them with palm kernel oil. She couldn't afford Vaseline, but she could afford love. And that was what she gave them every single day. She would wake before the cock crowed, tie 2 wrappers on her chest, boil water with firewood and bathe all 5 girls one after the other before walking them to school. Yes, school. She was able to put them in government school. School was free, but feeding was not. So she sold akamu in the morning, firewood in the afternoon, ground pepper at night. Each kobo she made, she split 5 ways, and if it wasn't enough, she went to bed hungry. The girls didn't know. She didn't tell them. Because to her, motherhood was not about shouting sacrifices. It was about doing them even when no one said thank you. The first daughter, Chisom, loved books. Even at 6 years old, she would read any paper she saw on the ground. One day, the school teacher came to the church compound and said, "Madam, this your daughter is gifted. She always comes first. Please, don't let her drop out." She smiled. "I won't." But inside, she was afraid, because West African Examinations Council registration was coming, and it was 10,500. Where would she find it? She began to save up every kobo, every coin, every leftover change. And she paid it. When Chisom passed with flying colors, she cried, not because of the result, but because of the journey. That result slip was not just paper, it was the trophy of her pain. The second daughter, Amaka, was different. She was bold, tough, always fighting for the younger ones. One day, a boy slapped her in school and said, "Your mother is a beggar." Amaka beat him, tore his shirt, bloodied his nose. When they called the mother to the school, she bowed her head in shame. But Amaka said, "I don't care what they call you. You are my mother. You are not a beggar. You are a warrior." The third daughter, Ifeoma, began learning how to sew. She would pick torn wrappers, broken zippers, old jeans from the dustbin and turn them into skirts. One day, a woman came from town and said, "Who made this gown?" They pointed at Ifeoma. That's how the woman took her to the city and trained her. She became one of the most famous fashion designers in town. By now, the fifth daughter was just 10 years old, the last born. Her name was Amanda. She didn't understand everything, but she always watched. She would sit in the corner and listen to her mother talk to God every night. "Father, bless my daughters. Even if my life ends in this place, let theirs not end like mine. Make them fly, even if I must crawl till I die." The small girl would ask, "Mama, why are you crying to God?" And she would reply, "Because he is the only one that listens to poor women." Then came the breakthrough. Chisom, the first daughter, got admission into university. The day the letter came, her mother held it in her hands and just stared. She didn't cry. She didn't laugh. She just stood there as if the world had stopped moving. She finally said, "So, Poor women too can have daughters in university. People mocked her. You're suffering like this just to train female children? Children that are supposed to be married out by now? But she didn't answer them, because she knew what she was doing. She was building a future with her own blood. In university, Chisom worked hard. She cleaned houses, tutored others for 100 hour, ate once a day. But she didn't complain, because each time she remembered her mother roasting in the sun, selling okpa, her heart caught fire. I must not fail. I must not fail. I must not fail. It became her song. She graduated with first class, and on the day of convocation, they called her name on the microphone. Miss Chisom Okafor, best graduating student. Her mother couldn't afford the gown, so she stood at the back in a borrowed wrapper. But when they gave Chisom the microphone to speak, she pointed. That woman at the back. She is the reason I am here today. They said she was useless because she had only daughters. They said girls cannot bring food to the table, but she fed us with her back, her bones, and her soul. Today I give this award to her, my mother, my king. The hall stood up and clapped. Her mother wept. Not quietly, loudly. Her whole body shook, because God had answered. Not with thunder, not with a miracle stick, but through the very daughters they rejected. And one by one, each daughter began to shine. The same girls they called useless. The same ones nobody carried at birth. Years passed. Seasons changed. Rain turned to Sunday. And slowly, painfully, with trembling hands and prayers whispered into smoke, she raised 5 daughters alone. And all of them came out with flying colors. Chisom became a doctor. Amaka joined the army. Ifeoma opened her own fashion line. Oluchi became a head teacher. Amanda became a storyteller, telling their story to the world. They now lived in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. And every month, like clockwork, they sent their mother money. Then one December, all 5 daughters came home. They didn't come quietly. They came with cars. Chisom drove in with a black SUV. Ifeoma followed in a branded van with her fashion logo. Amaka arrived in full army uniform, with security escort. Oluchi came with foodstuff and books for the village children. Amanda came with a camera crew. They told their mother to close her eyes and follow them. They had a surprise. She obeyed. When she opened them, a house was standing behind her. Sky blue walls, golden window frames, tiled floors, 4 bedrooms, a kitchen with a microwave, a fridge, a washing machine, even a rocking chair with her name carved into the wood. Mama Ngozi, Queen of Strength. She collapsed to her knees, tears streaming. God, is this what you were preparing all along? People clapped and rejoiced with her. The same woman they once called useless was now the pride of the village. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, the man who threw her away, her former husband, had grown old and thin. The second wife his mother gave him? Beautiful, yes, but not fruitful. She had 3 pregnancies, 3 miscarriages. No son, no daughter, just pain and shame. His family turned against her. She has eaten your destiny. Chase her out. And so, like he once did to his first wife, he threw her out too. Now, he sat alone in a mud house. No wife, no child, no noise, only regret. Then one day, the news reached him. Your daughters are back. They built your former wife a mansion. They made her a queen. He sat in silence, his throat dry, his heart heavy. That night, he didn't sleep. He paced the room like a ghost. The next morning, he dressed in his only clean wrapper, gathered elders, carried kola nuts, and walked to the house. The new house was shining, music playing. The compound was full neighbors eating rice, children dancing, women clapping. The man walked in. Everything stopped. People turned. Some gasped. Some whispered. Some hissed. He walked slowly through the crowd. He was not proud. He was not loud. He walked like a beggar. His eyes were sunken, his feet dusty, and his hands shook like leaves. It was him, the man who had once told Ngozi, "Only girls? Useless woman, leave my house. The man who let his family drag her through the mud. The man who never came back to check if she and the girls lived or died. Hey, is that not the man who chased her away? Look at him. He looks like a shadow. She gave birth to gold. He buried himself in dust. But he didn't answer. He walked straight to where Ngozi sat, her daughters standing proudly beside her, her cake taller than a child. And then he knelt. Yes, the same man who once dragged her in the mud knelt, in public, with trembling hands. I'm sorry, he said, his voice broken. Ngozi, please, I am sorry. I was foolish. I was blind. I let my mother's voice silence my heart. Please, I know I don't deserve to be here, but my soul hasn't rested. Please forgive me. Silence. Everyone froze. Even the drummers stopped. And then, Ngozi stood up. She looked at him for a long time. Her daughters held their breath. And then she said in a voice as soft as fire, If we had died that night in the rain, would you be here kneeling on my grave? If I had sent the girls to beg on the street, would you say sorry today? If I had given up and cursed the world, would you come with these tears? You didn't throw away just me. You threw away destiny. To hurt is human. To forgive is strength. I am not angry anymore. Ngozi took a deep breath. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I pray your heart finds rest. People shouted, Mama, God bless you. Your heart is gold. You are a true woman. He stood slowly, bowed, and walked quietly to the back of the crowd. Then Chisom, the first daughter, gave a speech. She held the microphone with shaking hands, her voice thick with emotion. Mama, she began, do you remember the day we had no salt in the house and you ground dried leaves to cook soup for us? Do you remember tying 2 wrappers over your chest to walk us to school in the rain? Do you remember the day they said we were burdens? Mama, we are not burdens. Today you are our queen. You are our beginning. You are the mother of legends. Then she knelt. All 5 daughters knelt before her. Then the moment of the day. A brand new white Toyota Highlander was driven in, decorated with ribbon. Amanda held the microphone. This is not just a car. This is a message to our mother. That you didn't fail. That God saw you. That your labor was not in vain. They handed her the key. She wept openly. I thought I would die in poverty, she said. But look what God has done. The crowd went silent. The MC whispered into the microphone. If you're sitting down, please stand and honor this woman. And everyone stood. Not one person remained seated. They clapped. Some shouted, God bless you, Mama! Others cried. Because what they saw in front of them was not just a woman, it was a pillar. That evening, the woman who once slept on a church floor now lay on a foam mattress in her own room. She held a photo album, flipped through pictures. Chisom in her graduation gown. Amaka in her military uniform. Ifeoma beside her new fashion store. Oluchi teaching in a school. Amanda with her twin babies. Tears slid down her cheeks again. But this time, they were not from hunger, not from pain, not from loneliness. These tears were peaceful. They were the tears of a woman who knew that God had heard her. Not loudly, but surely. Now, people come to her for advice. Mama, how did you do it? How did you raise these girls without running mad? She laughs softly. I didn't do anything. I just held them tight. I just never let go, even when the world told me I should. She tells young mothers, no child is useless. No daughter is a curse. Train them. Feed them. Speak over them. One day, the same daughters they laughed at will become your pride. One day, a young girl came to her house crying. Her husband had thrown her out for not giving birth to a boy. The woman welcomed her in, fed her, listened. Then she touched the girl's hand and said, Let me tell you something they don't teach in school. Boys are not your ticket to love. Girls are not your punishment. You are not less of a woman because of what you gave birth to. You are a full woman because of... how you love not what your womb produces. That girl now calls her Mama. So do many others. Her name is now known in churches, in women's meetings, in family events. When people talk of strength, they call her name. When people tell stories of motherhood, they point to her. She is no longer the woman with only girls. She is now the woman who raised empires with her bare hands. One day, a neighbor asked him, "Oga, do you regret it?" He looked away and sighed. "I regret not seeing clearly. I regret thinking girls meant failure. I regret forgetting that the child you throw away today might be the only one who will feed you tomorrow."